This is Seek Sustainable Japan and a sub-series that we do called Short Takes. I'm JJWalsh here in Hiroshima, Japan, and joined by...
Hi, I'm Tove Kinooka and I'm in Yokohama, Japan.
And we are both sustainability-focused consultants doing various kinds of work. Today, we're talking about travel and business and sustainability and issues to think about. And recently, I went to Hida-Takayama. Have you ever been there?
No, where is
No,
that?
oh my gosh, it's a beautiful area. I had a consulting job in rural Gifu. So it was a good chance to go and visit this beautiful area. So this is Hida Furukawa. Hida-Takayama is just a gorgeous old like townscape and cityscape. They have so much local sake breweries. They have hidden the wires in the main townscape.
Wonderful.
So they really preserving the old buildings. There's a lot of new guest houses, which are in renovated old buildings. It's absolutely gorgeous. And of course, the area is also famous for its beef industry. And as someone seeking vegetarian vegan options, it was a little bit of a challenge, but I did find two fantastic places. And one of them is run by this couple, and they make vegan Chinese food.
Oh, wow.
And I'll put all the links below in the show notes. And they only do it by reservation. They said they started making the vegan Chinese food because of the tourism demand and the fact that there was so little vegetarian vegan available in that town. I was so impressed by everything they're doing. They're making all the recipes from scratch and everything. Things that are really difficult to find vegan options for in Chinese food in Japan. Mabo tofu here. We had miso ramen. Just beautiful, wonderful options. We also found another place called EvilTex, which I absolutely love. The design and the logo is so fun. And this is not like healthy food at all. This is comfort food at its best. It was awesome. They said they had a local jet who was a vegetarian who couldn't eat anything. And so they developed this awesome vegan burger from scratch, from lentils and or soybeans. And it was so tasty. And they were just about to go to America and do a burger place tour and try out all the veggie and vegan burgers and then bring back those recipes to Japan.
Oh,
So
that's
it
good
was
to hear.
really fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
The area is really famous for all the thatch roof houses. You can go visit some of them UNESCO World Heritage. And yeah, just fantastic area to explore and lots of great insights. Now, we stayed at a hotel, which I thought was above par in terms of sustainability. They had everything was plastic free in the room.
Oh,
No plastic amenities. This mineral water in a recyclable aluminum can.
yeah.
Thank you, Itoen. It's nice to see new companies getting in the bottled water game, not plastic. And outside the onsen, also, it looks like a typical vending machine. But at the bottom, you can see the reusable Coke bottles, which are so hard to find.
Ah,
So
yeah.
that is another point of appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Toothbrushes, wooden toothbrush, and then the toothpaste in a packet. So lots of these small things that usually you would only see in plastic, even the coffee bag. They had a dip style coffee, so it was more like a tea bag to get rid of any of the plastic that usually is on top of the
Yeah.
drip bags. And I did a little search about Accor. So it's run by the Accor group, and they have a lot of great sustainability concepts in place. And then that led me to look at booking.com. They're listed, this Mercure hotel was listed as having travel sustainable measures, which is great to see.
Yeah.
And I think my standards are pretty high. And so when I'm impressed by everything I see, a lot of less plastic, a lot of reusables, it really did impress me. And
Yeah.
they're also featuring the local woodworking for the Takayama area. So also highlighting the local culture, the local traditions is always really great to see.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to introduce Women in Tech? There's an event coming up tomorrow.
Right, yes. So the Women in Tech is a global organization started in Paris, and they are launching their Japan chapter. As you can see, they've got an event in Kyoto tomorrow, the 29th of June, and then in Tokyo on the 5th of July. It's limited spaces, but open to the public. So please look at that link if you're interested. So I'm going to be moderating one of the panels in the Tokyo session and looking at gender diversity in the tech industry, which, as everyone's I'm sure aware, is not the most gender diverse industry right now, and it's sort of interesting timing with the recent sort of latest report coming out of WEF with the gender equality rankings, and seeing Japan going down to 125th. Really disappointing to see that slide. And although Japan has more qualified and educated women than men, actually, so it's interesting to see where that disparity starts to kick in, and how sort of girls, women are sort of pushed towards particular paths, which makes it very hard for then the tech industry to find female talent with the right skill set and background. So we'll be exploring that. But I'm sure Women in Tech are going to be doing a lot more here in Japan. So even if you can't make the launch, follow them, look at what's going on, because they'll be driving change in this area.
That's awesome. Awesome to see. Another thing I wanted to highlight was Heather Fukase, who's an organic farmer in Nagano. And if you like rhubarb and you're in Japan, she has rhubarb, organic rice, organic rhubarb, organic wheat, white flour, and wholemeal flour. So I would definitely recommend ordering from Heather. When I got my rice, it came in a paper bag, which was awesome as well.
Yeah.
So plastic free. She's an awesome organic farmer. Good to support. But yeah, rhubarb crumble. Awesome.
You're making me hungry now.
Now, you were at a special dinner. Tell us about the King's lunch, was it?
King's birthday party. So every year, the UK obviously has the used to be the Queen's birthday party. Now it's the King's birthday party. So the British Embassy in Tokyo hosts a big event. There were about 700 people there. And the picture you're looking at there is vegan sushi, which was wonderful. So the King Charles III is always has been throughout his life a very, very strong advocate for sustainability, for organic food and farming, regenerative farming practices. So whatever you think of the monarchy, he's genuinely passionate and committed to that. And so the embassy, in running this, approached us a few months back to say, could we consult for the sustainability of the event? They really wanted to make sure it was integrated into everything, not just the food, but thinking about the entertainment they were putting on, the energy, how were they serving the food, for example. So the sushi was served in sort of bamboo little plates. I'm not sure you can see it there. It was just to the right. But so really thinking about sort of the overall picture. And they also used it as an opportunity to highlight the carbon footprint of different kinds of food. And how the different production methods can really impact that. So it was interesting to look at. You can see there, you've got the carbon footprint by diet type, which I think a lot of people are already aware of. But the lamb one there, you can see, global average would be sort of 39 sort of CO2 per kilogram emissions. But looking at Welsh lamb, the way it's produced, less intensive, grass-fed, for example, that brings it down to 12. So not all food is the same, whether you're talking about vegetables or meat. The way it's produced, where it's produced, how it's transported, all of these things need to be factored in when you're considering, how sustainable a particular option is. So it was a great opportunity to highlight that, and they had sort of displays around looking at sort of comparing different types of food and the impact of that. So and the sushi was amazing. So didn't
Oh
miss
my
that.
gosh, it looks so good.
It was
I
fantastic.
want to eat that. Please, all sushi places around Japan, can you please start serving this kind of vegan sushi? I love it.
Yeah. No,
Amazing. But
mm,
that was one of the things on the booking.com list. They talk about nature.
yeah,
Wild, non-domesticated animals are not displayed, interacted with, or sold as harvested,
mm,
consumed. And this is an issue I think we often talk about in Japan. For more sustainable meat would be the wild meats, because there is too many wild boar, there's too many deer. So the government is trying to encourage people to hunt or
yeah.
trap and eat that meat. And I always think of wild meat as more sustainable. So I was confused by why booking.com would
Mm,
have this as the sustainable part. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think there are a lot of kind of misconceptions, misunderstandings around sustainability and food, and particularly around sort of meat and meat alternatives. We hear a lot of stuff about them where, sort of people would assume that because it's not real meat that it's more sustainable, but then you look at the impact of monoculture crops, for example soy, and the impact that can have if it's grown in a way that's not sustainable, and then all the processing as well in a lot of these sort of alternative meats can actually have a really negative impact. So again, holistically looking at the big picture, these things need to be better understood, but also more clearly labeled, I think, in food. And there needs to, regulation needs to be driving that behind. So
But
that,
that said, overall, eating soy, you
yeah,
are so much less water usage, so much less pollution, so much less negative carbon impact overall. Because what are we feeding the cattle? What are we feeding the kids? The pigs and other livestock, you're also feeding them soy.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you've got that plus the added pollution, plus the added energy
yeah,
and carbon. So it
yeah,
is always more sustainable to have a sustainable plant-based diet whenever you can. And this is somewhere that I think tourism can really help. Even
mhm,
if you end up eating fish or meat, if you're asking for the vegan vegetarian option
yeah,
and
yeah,
thinking of most of your meals in Japan as choosing vegetarian vegan if there is available, that really helps. Because one of the problems we're seeing in Japan now is the government is trying to push up the production of meat, and
mm,
that has a much more damaging, water intensive, and creating pollution
yeah,
problems. This
yeah,
is from Japan's own government talking about the problems with livestock related environmental issues in Japan. And this was from 2017. So you see dairy cattle, beef cattle, pigs
mm,
being the top three emitters of pollution and odor complaints.
huh,
All odor complaints in Japan, 10% comes from the livestock industry. So I think,
right,
we're always like in tourism, they're always promoting wagyu or
mm,
locally grown beef or pork.
mm,
But it might be connected to culture, it might be connected to appeal, but it's not a sustainable diet choice,
right,
right? So
right,
that's good
yeah.
to keep in mind. Not
I think so.
every meal, right? Please,
Not
not
every
every
meal.
meal.
Yep, exactly. All about balance, right?
All
As so
about
many of these
balance.
things are making informed choices and considering the overall balance, I think is
Yeah,
massively important.
absolutely. So let's talk about your lab, your upcoming lab.
Right. So the Sustainability Leadership Lab is our first ever B2C program. So usually we work with corporates. This is direct open to individuals. They may be sponsored by their company, but you're free to sign up on your own sort of initiative as well. And this is a 6-month program. Initially, we were thinking we'd do it hybrid, but now we've decided to go fully online so that it's available to more people. And we've got 6 modules over 6 months. And the idea is that we've got small cohorts so that they're learning from each other. And it's really about the people side of sustainability, the challenges that people in sustainability roles face, relating to how they're engaging, how they're communicating. So you can see here we've got a really brilliant lineup of speakers. Some of them based in Japan, 2 based in the UK, 1 based in Korea, all with an amazing background and track record of really delivering on sustainability. And you can see some of the organizations there. We've got, SK Group in Korea, IKEA, Mark Haviland, who was formerly the global head of sustainability for Rakuten, now with Marine Conservation Society, Lixil. These are companies that really are leading the charge on sustainability. And we're looking really at how are you engaging with different stakeholders in your organization. All the participants will take on a project throughout as well, so that they sort of finish the program with a tangible plan to take away and go and put into action. And so the idea is that it really overcomes a lot of those people-related challenges around mindsets, behaviors that block sustainability strategies from working in organizations. So really looking forward to that, starting in September. So if you want to sign up, there are still places available. Please do that ASAP.
That sounds amazing. Like a great opportunity to really just up your level of understanding and get so many insights from these experts. This is a really amazing panel of speakers you've got.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have all of them on board. I'm very grateful for them. They're all busy people, so really appreciate their time. But I think also one thing we've found is a lot of people working in sustainability roles in organizations feel very isolated. They're there in the sustainability team or committee or whatever it is, depending on the organization. And they're trying to get things moving. They get stuck. They're not quite sure why things won't, get better traction in the company. But who do they talk to about that? So by sort of having this peer cohort from different organizations, the idea is that they can share learnings, challenges with each other, help each other to overcome that, as well as working with obviously the facilitator and coach and the guest speakers as well, having access to them. So we're hoping it will be a really valuable and enjoyable experience.
That's awesome. I had some interesting talks this month with people around Japan and even internationally. One was a Fukushima-based Dutch person named Joost Kralt. Sorry if I made a mistake there, Joost. And he's doing a really interesting food camp in the Fukushima area, and they're taking people, they're picking them up in the city centers near the stations, they're taking them out to the farms where the food is grown, and they're bringing amazing chefs from the area and then serving the food out there on location in these beautiful rural farms. And they just added a hydrogen food truck to their fleet, so now emissions free. Very interesting, because from a consumer perspective, people enjoy the food more because there's no smell of diesel. There's no sound of the engine, right? So he was doing the interview from the truck. It was super quiet. It was amazing. Yeah, really cool.
What an interesting tour.
Yeah. Also to bring more appeal to the Fukushima area. It's just fantastic to see. There is such great agriculture there, and they're very active in testing everything. I did a trip up at the beginning of the year, and it might be safer than other parts of the world because they are testing everything.
Exactly, it's being monitored actively. Yeah.
Amazing. I also talked to a lady, Kelly Hayes Wright, and she calls herself the house sit diva. So she has traveled around the world house sitting and pet sitting as a way to do sustainable slow travel. And she was in politics in the States. She is very active and passion led in volunteering. And while she was doing these house sits and staying for a long time in places, she was actually reporting back to American newspapers about the local situation, about refugees, about different social issues that she saw. So she was using it as a way to do really sustainable, slow, meaningful travel.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting talking with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a few days ago, talking with a local translator interpreter named Rachel Nicholson. And she's been here in Hiroshima for 16 years. And she ran a shokudo, she ran her own cafe. She's really into coffee. She was talking about local Hiroshima coffee places, and she's a real foodie. So that was really fun. There's
Yeah.
back to all the more sustainable choices that you can make, including coffee. There's,
Mm,
a lot of issues with coffee grown
yes.
in other locations. And is it fair for the growers? Is it fair trade? There's very little of that kind of awareness
Mm,
in Japan, but we certainly have some that are really thinking about it. So that's
yeah.
great to talk
Yeah.
about.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah.
Now, you had another topic. Here we go. Corporate Action Japan. Can you tell us about this?
Right. So yesterday, we had lunch with the CEO of Corporate Action Japan, who we've known for a long time in his former role, Yasunori Takeuchi. So he was head of Standard Chartered Bank for many years. Then he retired, thought he'd retire quietly, and was then approached to run this organization. He personally is very passionate about climate and addressing climate change. And this is an MPO. And he's launched the Japan chapter. And their purpose is to, as you can see, accelerate action, climate action, driving it through real sort of pressure from the top, through consulting, sort of activist consulting almost. So he and his team go and talk to the CEOs, the senior directors of all these very large companies that have a huge impact, and they're particularly focusing to begin with on the industries around construction that are really, really hard to decarbonize. And he said it was interesting that you go and talk to them and you look at the website and it says yes, we're going to be zero carbon by this date or whatever, but there's no plan underneath that. Actually, there are goals, there are ambitions, but there's no solid roadmap underneath. So what he is doing with this organization is helping companies firstly sort of make more ambitious targets, bringing the dates forward, upping their the level of change that they want to achieve, but then really helping them understand that they need a solid roadmap underneath that, and looking at how do they get started on that, and engaging with different stakeholders. So he's sitting down with top levels of government, large organizations, connecting them also with environmental MPOs and activists and things. So really kind of bringing together different stakeholders. So very much around the sort of public-private partnerships, which in Japan hasn't been sort of a very sort of well-used tool, if you like. In Europe, organizations, companies, businesses have been interacting for a long time already with NPOs, for example, to actually work with them. So it often starts with there's an issue that the NPO will flag and say, guys, you're not doing well on this, you need to up your game, or there'll be trouble. And so starting from that point, but actually using the depth of expertise that a lot of the NPOs have to help the companies understand, well, how do we do this better then? How do we get a stronger understanding of the complexity in our supply chain, and how to work with smallholders or little SMEs in the supply chain that really struggle to change, but the big companies can are part of that and can support them. So I think what he's doing is very much needed here, particularly, and it's great. I mean, it's early days. He's building a team. He's got 8 people so far, 4 women, 4 men. He's been very conscious of building the gender diversity of his team. 1 non-Japanese, all fully bilingual though. So he's really working hard on bringing different stakeholders together and driving change and the level of ambition here. So I'm really excited to see sort of what more they achieve going forward.
That's awesome. That sounds really good. It's so wonderful to hear these passionate people moving forward with
Mhm.
positive change. I think it makes such a big difference.
Very
I recently wrote an article which was published this month on All About Japan about Onomichi and
Mhm.
how this is a small town in Hiroshima, but how they are really turning things around. There's so much problems in rural areas around Japan in terms of having enough population there, for one thing, a lot of people moving away. But so much innovation and entrepreneurship, a lot of it, well, I'm always focused on sustainability.
Mhm.
So all of my places that I chose are really going above and beyond in terms of sustainable innovation and strategy, and really creating such a sustainable destination in Japan.
Mhm.
And I had such a great response from some of my old students from university who I taught tourism and business to most of my career. And one of them got in touch and she said she's working in Onomichi and her boss sent my article to everybody and said, "You have to read this. This is
Brilliant.
amazing. This is about sustainable Onomichi. We want to be like this." And I was like, "Yay! You know, what a great result."
Yeah,
I was
that's
really pleased.
impact, right? That's real impact. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and the part 2 is coming out soon, which focuses on more entrepreneurs who are doing really innovative things right nearby. Now, one of the really exciting things I think is you have a combination of people who have done a U-turn, who were originally from Onomichi. They went abroad, they went to other parts of Japan, and they came back.
yeah.
And you have a lot of people who are from other areas, but they visited Onomichi. Maybe they did the Shimanami Kaido. They got really inspired by the vibe. A lot of them mentioned the vibe that they feel, and the beautiful views and the support of all the other sustainably led entrepreneurs. And so that's somewhere they wanted to be.
Mhm.
So yeah, really exciting to be able to
That's
introduce
yeah.
such a great example.
Yeah, and it's really nice to hear examples like that of, like you say, sort of people going away, but then recognizing the value of what they had and going back to that. And then that also drawing in other people. And I think a lot of other rural areas that are struggling could learn from that, right? It's a very different quality of life. And if you can sort of enable people to see that, to experience that, then it is attractive, actually.
Yeah. And
Mm.
a few people responded on Twitter to the article and like, "Oh no, I better hurry. I've been thinking of buying a place and moving to Onomichi. Oh no, now it's going to be too busy." But don't worry, there's still lots of empty
Victim of
places.
its own
There's
success.
still room. There's still room to
Yeah,
grow. Yeah, don't worry.
that's good to
Was
hear.
there? We've got a few more minutes. Oh, just 2 more minutes. Any? We had a comment from Greg. Greg Friston, nice to see you. Interesting question to resolve. No better people to identify a resolution for us, I'm sure. So I think talking about hotel sustainability from the beginning. Great, you
Mm.
could join us, Greg. Any other things on your radar there, Tova?
So one more thing I wanted to mention was, again, thinking of rural areas doing interesting things, the Atlantic Pacific summer camp for young leaders is in happening at end of July, is it, or August? Got the link there. There you go, 31st of July to 4th of August. So this is for young leaders, sort of high school age or early university years. It's in Kamaishi, Nebama Bay, Kamaishi. I think I mentioned before, talked about the spring camp that I attended back in March. So now they've got their summer camp happening. And it's a beautiful example of a local area that was, well, it was decimated during the 2011 tsunami. They've really worked hard to rebuild not just the physical town, but the community there, and to think about the future and how can they attract people to come here to visit, to come and live and want to stay there, the people that, the young ones, so they won't want to leave it forever. And this camp is a brilliant example of that. So kids come from all over the world. They will be looking at local issues such as plastic pollution in the ocean. They've got fishing experience, life saving and things, which is, where Atlantic Pacific started. And so brilliant experience for the kids. There's a lot of interaction with local communities, local groups. And they also meet kids from all over Japan and all over the world as well. So I mean, it's a really interesting, inspiring, but also sort of fun experience. They'll learn a lot from it. So if you're looking for something for your teenagers to do, that would be a really beneficial and fun experience, would really highly recommend this. And it helps the Kamaishi area as well.
Yeah, Kamaishi's in Tohoku, right?
That's right. Yes. Yep. In
So
Iwate's
that whole area is still recovering. Even 12 years later, there's still a lot of coastal areas because of the great tsunami, and then the earthquake, tsunami, and then the nuclear power disaster.
Exactly.
But a lot of places are physically still recovering from the tsunami damage.
Yes.
And the earthquake damage, as well as, the radiation is constantly monitored. I don't feel when I go up there that that's an issue to worry about. And this looks like a wonderful experience for kids. I'm so glad you're part of that, Tove.
Yes, I won't be at the summer camp. I was at the spring one, running one of the workshops, but won't be able to do it this time. But they've got a great lineup of people, a great team. They're very, very passionate about what they do, and the local teams that they work with there in Nebama Bay are amazing. And the experience they've been through of the disaster and the regeneration afterwards it's incredible to hear. It's very powerful, and a lot of learnings, whatever you're doing in life, I think. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tove. Thank you, everybody, for joining. That is our 30 minutes. What topic was most interesting to you, everybody out there? Please write your comments and questions below, and we will be happy to add our point of view. Also, share some links with us if you have heard or seen something that you think is really exciting in terms of sustainability, doing a better than the status quo. We want to know about it. So please let us know. Get in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tove. Stay cool, everybody. Getting hot out there. And see you next time. See you next month.
Brilliant. Thanks, JJ.
Thanks, everyone.